And we should all become consultants to the world community on how to handle these types of times. Mm-hmm. Our mothers and grandmothers used to take $1 worth of potatoes and could feed the community for a week.
So true.
We did this. We've been through this, and we got the T-shirt to prove it.
So true.
So we can't lose sight that this is the time for us to step up. But the cornerstone is to get an education that is in the interest of African people. Because when you're on an airplane and they're telling you about if an accident should occur and that oxygen mask comes down, they say if you're with a child or someone who is disabled or challenged that cannot do for self, they say put the mask on your face first.
That's right. Save yourself.
Because then you can handle other people.
Yes.
But what good is that child if you died and the child lives? So we have to think in terms of getting ourselves together before we go around telling everybody else what they should be doing.
So true. So true. So let's talk about melanin and talk about this, because this is a lot about us getting together, and particularly when it comes to melanin and what that reflection looks like on the skin, because we still have lots of controversy, even in the conscious community, about who is the true melanin people and who are those that really possess melanin.
And you see, that's the key, because I think that once you break down melanin and you understand what it is, and you do the science behind it, a lot of the emotional discussion goes away.
Yes.
Melanin is a molecule. It is a molecule that resides in every part of the cosmic reality. For those who are listening to this program and it is dark outside, the sun has gone to the other side, or I should say we have rotated so that the sun is on the other side of the planet and we are in darkness. When you look up into the heavens, that's cosmic melanin. Darkness is melanin. Everything that exists is melanin. And out of the melanin comes the light. When you're dealing with cosmic melanin and you're dealing with dark matter, dark energy and dark matter is what comprise the universe.
Yeah.
When dark matter begins to go in on itself and begins to begin to turn in on itself, and it begins to come to one big ball, the pressure that is put under this, there is such an energetic explosion that nanodiamonds explode out of that. That's how stars are born. Stars are crystallized melanin. When you come down on the earth, we have something known as coal. Coal put under a great deal of pressure crystallizes and becomes diamonds. That's earthly melanin. Carbon is at the center of melanin, that black substance, the carbon, the blackness of the cosmic reality. Melanin is a molecule. The melanocyte is a melanin cell. Inside the melanin cell, you have workers. These workers are melanosomes. Melanosomes are what is known as organelles. Whenever you have the word organ, you know it means that whatever it is, it's going to work. Your heart is an organ. It does something. It beats. It has a job. You have organs and you have glands. Glands secrete hormones. That's their function. Organs do a job. They function so that the body can function. And so inside the melanocyte, which is the cell, you have a melanosome. A melanosome is inside of the melanosome, which is an organelle. It's a worker. And what happens is that is where the melanin molecule is produced. Now, there are different types of melanin. You have skin melanin, but your skin is the largest organ because your skin does something. It is both a wall and it is a mirror. A wall in that it stops harmful things from coming in. It protects you. That's your first line of immunity to outside agencies. And it's a mirror that reflects how you are doing on the inside. And so it's a wall, it's a mirror. in many times, T.K. Moore, in one of his books, The Science of Melanin, talks about the fact that he has, in his research, come to realize that the skin acts very much like a brain does. It actually can function on its own to protect the particular organism that it's dealing with. And so that you have skin melanin, you have neuromelanin. Neuromelanin is found in your central nervous system. Your central nervous system being your brain and your nervous system, and your peripheral nervous system that then flows out of your body through your hands and your legs, and it goes from your head top to your shoe stop. And then you have what's known as eumelanin or pheomelanin, which you can find on the inside of your body, which is in what's in your organs and your glands and your heart and your skeletal system and your muscular system. Every part of your body. Without it in your eyes, you couldn't see. Without melanin in your ears, you couldn't hear. Without it in your tongue, you couldn't taste. So that melanin is in everybody, no matter what your cultural background is. It's in animals. It's in the water. It's in rocks. It's everywhere. That is why, in many ways, melanin is like the cosmic universe. In fact, melanin very well could be God. You could call melanin God because it's in everything and everywhere. It is omnipotent. It is all-powerful, omniscient, it's all-knowing, and it's forever present in all things. It's what the universe is made of. So that everybody has melanin. The point, and I think that I heard Hunter Haviland Adams out of Chicago, and I'm pretty sure I heard Professor Carol Barnes say that it's not, and we as an African people have to look at this also, it's not so much having melanin that's important. It is the process of the human body producing it that's important. To forever be able to produce it and to be eating the proper things and to be listening to the proper music and associating with the proper people, putting yourself in the kinds of positive situations that allow melanin to be produced constantly. It's like recharging a battery. This is another example that Carol Barnes gives in his book. It's like recharging a battery, so that if your battery is low, if your melanin content is low, you go out into the sun and the sun starts to hit your body, it bathes your body, it's like recharging your melanin cell, your melanin battery. And so that melanin is in all parts. In fact, here's how I compare it. It's like taking auto mechanic school. For you to go to school to learn life science, and not learn the role that melanin plays in life science is equivalent to taking an auto mechanics class and no one ever teaching you the role of gasoline. Gasoline makes a car run. It makes it move. You can build a car, you can know the parts of a car, but if you don't know what makes it move, the function of the car is for naught. And in our school systems, because they don't teach the role of melanin, because they are afraid that if you teach melanin, then the children that are melanated are going to understand where they are on this planet. They'll understand why life came from Africa. They'll understand why people who moved away from the sun became depigmented. They'll understand the true meaning of dis-ease. And they'll look around them and understand things about them. So children are not being taught about melanin, and melanin should be taught to European children and Asian students as well as it should be to African students. So melanin is a vital part of life science and science in general in the classroom.
And so now, bringing us to 2010 and speaking with all that is listening now, brothers and sisters and people from all over the world listening right now, understanding this about melanin, beginning to talk about the significance of really activating what is called our pineal gland and really the role that melanin plays in that combination.
Well, when you look at the pineal gland being a gland secretes hormones. There are two major hormones that are released. There are other hormones, but the two ones that we'd like to talk about is in in the daylight, when the sun is present in our existence, the hormone secreted from the pineal gland is called serotonin. And that is the cause for our thoughts, for our daydreams, and for all things that are emanated from our spiritual thought system during daylight hours or sunlight hours. When the sun is no longer in our presence and we're in, let's say, the dark, nighttime, melatonin is released from the pineal gland, and it bathes our body. Not only does it secrete and is the cause for your night dreams, but the secretion of melatonin at night gets your body ready for the release of serotonin during the day.
Right.
Serotonin during the day not only secretes the hormone that allows you to activate your thoughts and your daydreams. And daydream, I don't mean when you're wandering off. I'm talking about your thoughts. I'm talking about how you feel during the day. I'm talking about people who are feeling a certain way about themselves and the world around them and how they're able to cope with their day. I'm talking about that. That secretion of serotonin gets you ready for the secretion of melatonin. So there is a cyclical relationship between the hormones and the liquids that are being released in your brain. And when you look at cerebrospinal fluid is produced in a part of your brain known as your ventricular system. You have 4 ventricles, and they're basically like balloons. They are, at one time when the human family was very young, and we were in another form and our heads were shaped differently, the ventricular system wasn't allowed to open up. When we started getting a forebrain, that frontal part of the brain, and it began to come forward, what we create a forehead, what began to happen is that it allowed the ventricular system to be able to expand, and that's found in our limbic system in the brain. See, this is why, my sister, I'm saying that we must study science. Our ancestors were excellent scientists. I hear a lot of our children speak about learning and being smart in school as acting white, when in reality what they understand is that to become excellent intellectual thinkers is acting black. It's acting African. It's acting like you're supposed to act. That's why when folks say, I'm a nerd, I'm proud to be a nerd. My ancestors were nerds. Nerds built the pyramids. Right. Nerds created jurisprudence and also created the concept of God. A nerd did that. So that I am proud to be a nerd, and I want all of our children to be nerds. So that we have to understand science and how the brain functions, because when the ventricular system opened up, it allowed a part of these 4 ventricles. There's 2 lateral ventricles that are like wings on a bird. When the 2 wings come down, it's almost like the body of the bird. And coming out of the body comes the 4th ventricle, which is like the tail of the bird, so that you have the lateral ventricles that are like the wings, you have the 3rd ventricle that's like the body, and then you have the 4th ventricle that's like the tail. In the 3rd ventricle, according to the teachings of Dr. Richard King in his book, African Origins of Biological Psychiatry, and also his book, Melanin, Key to Freedom, he talks about the 3rd ventricle being the vault of initiation. And it is in the 3rd ventricle where you have very important jewels. You have the pineal gland, you have the pituitary gland, and you have the optic thalami, which is the eye of the 2 thalamus. You have a left thalamus and a right thalamus. When the 2 thalamus come together, there's a little bulb that's at the top that acts as an eye. It connects the 2 thalamus together, which becomes the thalami. So you have 3 very important parts of your functioning brain. The pineal gland responsible for your spiritual growth, your pituitary body responsible for your physical growth, and your optic thalami responsible for your emotional growth. So there you have seated the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Yes.
And so that it's important to understand that in these ventricles, you have